The Rustbucket hung in the void like a battered tin can, its hull pocked with dents from a dozen salvage runs gone sideways. Beyond its cracked viewport, the Driftspire loomed a jagged alien megastructure, orbiting a rogue planet, its crystalline spires glinting faintly against the. It was 2678, and humanity's reach stretched thin across the Orion Arm. But out here, in the uncharted fringes, the galaxy felt older, meaner. Commander Mara Buckley slouched in the pilot's chair, her boots propped on the console, chipped front tooth catching the dim glow of flickering. She'd chased rumors of this place for months and tapped Tyra Concord tech. Now, staring at it, she felt the itch of something wrong. Thing looks like a haunted chandelier, Chief Engineer Diego Sparks Morales muttered from the nav station, wiping grease from his cheek with a sleeve. Already stained black. His lanky frame hunched over a tangle of wires, jury-rigging a sensor that had been glitchy since their last job. Bet it's got ghost ships with better Wi-Fi than us. Mara snorted, her sharp hazel eyes narrowing at the Driftspire's silhouette. Keep dreaming, Sparks. If it's got tech, we're stripping it. Earth's colonies need every edge they can get. Her voice carried that rough-edged drawl of someone who'd clawed her way up from nothing stubborn. Defiant, the kind of woman who'd punch a star if it looked at her wrong. PVT. Aisha Boom-Khalid leaned against the bulkhead, arms crossed, her compact coiled like a spring. Long as I get to blow something up, I'm good, she said, flashing a grin that. Her demolitions kit clinked softly against her hip, a comfort she never left behind, not since the court-martial she didn't talk about. The comms crackled, static slicing through the hum of the Rustbucket's engines. Diego tapped the console, frowning, picking up a signal. Faint, human frequency. OS, maybe, coming from inside the thing. Mara's boots hit the deck with a thud. Human. Out here. She leaned over Diego's shoulder, squinting at the waveform dancing. Tyra Concord's been dust for centuries. No one supposed to be alive in there. Could be a trap, Aisha said, her grin fading. Or a ghost. You believe in ghosts, Buck. I believe in credits, Mara shot back, already keying the thrusters. And whatever's in there, it's ours now. Take us in, Sparks. The Rustbucket groaned as it lurched toward the Driftspire, its engines coughing. Like a smoker on his last lung. The station's outer hull shimmered an eerie lattice of crystal and metal, pulsing with a rhythm Mara couldn't place. They were 50 clicks out when the sensors screamed. Red lights bathed the cockpit, and Diego bolted upright. Perimeter alarm. We tripped something. Before Mara could curse, a voice cut through the comms low, grating, like steel. Intruders, you trespass on sacred ruin. Depart or be unmade. It wasn't human. Too cold, too precise, laced with a hum that made her teeth ache. Aisha's hand was on her explosives pouch in an instant. That's our welcome party. Mara didn't answer. Her eyes locked on the viewport as shapes detached from the Driftspires. Surface sleek, insect-like drones, their red sensors glowing like embers in the dozens of them, swarming fast. Sparks, evasive. Boom. Weapons hot. Diego yanked the controls, the Rustbucket banking hard as Aisha scrambled to the first drone streaked in, its claws slashing across the hull with a shriek of. Sparks flared outside, illuminating Mara's gritted teeth. She snatched her plasma rifle from the rack, slamming a power cell home. Hold her steady. Aisha's turret roared to life, spitting rounds that caught a drone mid-flight. It exploded in a burst of molten shards, but 3 more took its place, claws raking the ship's flank. The Rustbucket shuddered, a deep groan echoing through the deck as something. Mara braced against the console, aimed through the viewport, and fired. A blue-white bolt punched through a drone's core, sending it spinning into the engines at 60%. Diego yelled, voice tight. We're not outrunning these bastards. Then we're landing, Mara barked, slamming the override. The Rustbucket dove toward an open docking bay, drones trailing like hornets. Metal screamed as they crashed through the Driftspire's threshold, skidding. across a crystalline floor and a shower of sparks. The ship lurched to a stop, cockpit dimming as power flickered out. Silence fell, heavy and thick. Mara exhaled, rifle still warm in her hands. Beyond the cracked viewport, the Driftspire's interior glowed a labyrinth of alien ruin, waiting. Diego muttered, worst airman ever. Mara's lips twitched. Gear up. We're not done waking this place up. The Rustbucket lay crumpled like a discarded beer can, its hull split open against the Driftspire's crystalline floor. Inside the alien megastructure, the air was thick humid with a metallic tang that clung to Mara Buckley's skin as she kicked the airlock open. Her plasma rifle hummed faintly, its barrel still warm from the drone skirmish. Behind her, Diego Morales hefted a salvage toolkit, his lanky frame hunched under the weight, while Aisha Khalid cradled her demolitions pack like a newborn, her dark eyes scanning the shadows. The base stretched out before them, a cavernous expanse of jagged crystal walls, pulsing with faint blue light, like veins under skin. Overhead, the ceiling arched into darkness, lost in a haze of alien geometry. Place gives me the creeps, Diego muttered, his boots scuffing against the. A shard of drone wreckage crunched underfoot, its red sensor flickering out like. You think that voice meant it? Depart or be unmade. Sounded pretty serious, Mara said, her voice low, edged with that dry drawl. She leaned on when things got dicey. But I'm not big on taking orders from disembodied assholes. Move out. Aisha grinned, already prying loose a chunk of crystal with her knife. Bet I can blow this place sky high if it tries anything funny. Save it, boom. Mara shot back, though her lips twitched. We're here for tech, not fireworks. They pushed deeper, the Driftspire's corridors narrowing into a labyrinth of glowing runes and sharp angles. Carvings lined the wall's alien script Mara couldn't read, but the warning vibe. One phrase repeated, etched deeper than the rest. Let the sleepers lie. Diego traced it with a greasy finger, frowning. Sounds like a bedtime story I'd skip, or a trap we already sprang, Aisha said, her tone sharpening as a distant hum vibrated through the floor. Heads up. The hum grew into a grating buzz, and the shadows ahead shifted. Mara raised her rifle just as Overseer Klyrr-Vex emerged, a biomechanical nightmare, 8 feet of gleaming carapace and shifting metal limbs. Its amber eyes burned through the gloom, mandibles clicking as it towered over. You primates defile sacred order, it intoned, voice like a saw blade on steel. This station guards the sleepers. Your kind is a chaotic blight and fit to awaken what lies here. Mara's grip tightened, chip tooth flashing in a defiant smirk. Orders overrated, bugface. What's down there you're so scared of? Klyrr-Vex didn't answer. Its claws flexed, and the walls shuddered as a hidden panel slid open, revealing a massive chamber below. At its center sat the Eden's Wrath, a human colony ship, its hull weathered but intact, half buried in crystal growth. Cryopods lined its flanks, their lights flickering to life. Diego's jaw dropped. Holy shit, that's one of ours. Old school, Aisha whistled. Pre-fall era. What's it doing here? Get me a reading, Mara snapped, but Diego was already sprinting toward a console jutting from the floor. His toolkit clattered as he patched into the alien tech, fingers flying over. Power spiking, something's waking it up. Klyrr-Vex's eyes flared. Seizure interference. It lunged, a claw slashing toward Diego, but Mara fired a blue-white bolt scorching its arm. The Overseer recoiled, hissing, and the hum intensified. A pod on the Eden's Wrath hissed open, venting steam. A figure stumbled out, human, but wrong. Taller, bulkier, its skin laced with bio-augmented scars. It saluted Mara with a goofy pirouette, then tripped over a cable, sprawling face first with a thud. What the hell? Aisha barked, half laughing, half ready to shoot. The soldier scrambled up, grinning like a cartoon drunk. Sergeant Biff reporting, ma'am. Ready to hit kick-ass. He threw a sloppy punch at the air, nearly toppling. More pods popped open, spilling out a dozen more, each a super soldier, each glitching with slapstick protocols. One cartwheeled into another, who responded with a clumsy headbutt. Diego stared, toolkit slipping from his hands. These ain't colonists. They're clowns with muscles. Klyrr-Vex roared, its voice cracking the air. Abominations. You defiled the sleepers. Drones poured from the walls, sleek, red-eyed. Killers, claws glinting as they swarmed. Mara shoved Diego behind her, firing into the mass. A drone exploded midair, but Timur lashed onto her rifle, wrenching it. Aisha hurled a flash bomb, blinding the swarm in a burst of light, while Biff and his squad flailed into action, punching drones with wild swings, half of them missing, one accidentally smashing its own face. Get to the ship, Mara yelled, snatching a fallen drone claw as a makeshift. Aisha lobbed another explosive, blasting a path through the crystal shards, raining like deadly confetti. Diego sprinted, dragging a giggling Biff, who kept shouting, to victory or. Klyrr-Vex's shadow loomed as the crew dove for cover, the Eden's Wrath's engines. The station trembled, and Mara's gut twisted. Whatever they'd started, it wasn't stopping now. The Driftspire's corridors shook like a beast waking from a bad dream. Crystalline walls splintering as the Eden's Wrath's engines roared to life. Mara Buckley led her crew in a desperate retreat, her chip-tooth glinting in the flickering blue light as she slashed a drone's claw with her makeshift. Sparks sprayed, metal screeched, and the air thickened with the acrid bite of. Behind her, Diego Morales stumbled over a twitching soldier Sergeant Biff who was busy karate chopping the floor, giggling, "Take that, gravity," Aisha called. Brought up the rear, her demolitions pack bouncing as she lobbed a grenade over. The blast ripped through a swarm of Klyrr-Vex's drones, turning them into a glittering cloud of shrapnel that rained against the walls. "Keep moving," Mara barked, her voice raw over the din. Her boots skidded on the slit crystal as she hauled Diego upright, his toolkit clanking like a junkyard symphony. The Rustbucket was scrapped now, and the Eden's Wrath, their only ticket out, was 100 yards deeper, its hull trembling as more pods cracked open, spilling bio-augmented lunatics into the fray. Aisha's grin was feral, sweat streaking her face. "Love a good chase, but these bugs are cramping my style." She primed another explosive, hurling it at a drone that lunged from a side passage. The detonation shook the floor, sending Biff cartwheeling into a wall with a cheerful wee. He bounced back, throwing a sloppy haymaker that somehow crushed the drone's sensor, its remains sparking out. Diego wheezed, clutching his side. "These clowns are gonna get us killed or save us." "I can't tell." "Both, probably," Mara growled, ducking as a drone's claw grazed her shoulder. She spun, driving her blade into its core, and it collapsed in a heap of. The corridor narrowed ahead, forcing them single file a choke point begging for. Above, Klyrr-Vex's shadow loomed, its biomechanical bulk scraping the ceiling as it stalked them, amber eyes blazing through the haze. "Your chaos ends here," it rasped, voice a guttural hum that rattled Mara's. Its claws flexed, and a wave of drones surged forward faster, slicker, their red. Mara shoved Diego toward a rusted console jutting from the wall. "Sparks, rig something now." Diego dropped to his knees, toolkit spilling open. "On it, boss," his hands blurred, yanking wires from the alien tech and splicing them into a scavenged drone turret he'd snagged earlier. "Give me 10 seconds." "We don't have 10, Aisha snapped, planting herself between him and the swarm. She fired her pistol, dropping to drones, but a third lashed onto her boot, its claws screeching against her armor. She cursed, stomping it into the floor until it popped like a tin can, then spun as Diego's turret whirred to life. "Fire in the hole," he yelled, slamming the activation switch. The turret spun then backfired, a slug ricocheting off the wall and blasting a hole in Aisha's boot. She yelped, hopping on one foot. "Sparks, you idiot." Sorry. Diego winced, tweaking a wire. The turret corrected, unleashing a hail of rounds that shredded half the drone. Biff and his squad joined in, Flailing with comical fury, one soldier drop-kicked a drone into another, cackling, twoffer. But Klyrr-Vex advanced, unfazed, its carapace deflecting stray shots like rain off steel. Mara's gut twisted. They were pinned, outgunned, and the Eden's wrath was still too far. She dug into her pocket for anything of flair, a tool when her fingers brushed a foil packet, expired alien cheese from their last ration haul. Desperate, she tore it open and chucked it at Klyrr-Vex, aiming for its glowing. "Eat this, you overgrown roach." The cheese hit, splattering across its power. No damn, the impossible happened. Klyrr-Vex froze, its limbs jittering like a marionette on cut strings. Sparks erupted from its joints, and its voice glitched into a warbling screech. System overload, nutrition incompatible. Its legs buckled, then danced. A spastic jig, claws flailing as if drunk. Diego's jaw dropped. Cheese beats tech. Who knew? Aisha, still limping, barked a laugh. "Next time, I shoot you. Sparks, keep the crap away from me." Mara seized the moment, rallying the soldiers. "Move, you clowns, hit it while it's down." Biff saluted with a twirl, trip, over his own feet, then led his squad in a stumbling charge. They swarmed Klyrr-Vex, landing wild punches. One soldier headbutted its knee. Another somersaulted into its chest, giggling. Mara joined, slashing its weakened arm with her blade. Metal tore free, exposing sparking circuits, and the overseer staggered. But the respite was short. Klyrr-Vex's core pulsed, stabilizing, and it roared, hurling Biff across the corridor with a backhand that dented the wall. "You cannot stop the inevitable," it snarled, regaining its footing. Drones regrouped, their claws gleaming as they closed in. Mara's blade snapped against its carapace, and she stumbled back, breath ragged. Then the Driftspire quaked harder, deeper, a tremor that cracked the ceiling. Dust rained, and Diego's scanner beeped frantically. More pods waking up, ships overloading the station. Klyrr-Vex lunged, pinning Mara against the wall, its claw inches from her. Its voice dropped to a venomous hiss. "Your kind ends now." Her vision blurred, the weight crushing her chest. But her. "Not today, Bugface." The floor buckled beneath them, and the chaos was just beginning. The Driftspire groaned like a dying titan, its crystalline walls fracturing as the Eden's Wrath's engines roared below, shaking loose centuries of dust, and Mara Buckley gasped, pinned against the wall by Klyrr-Vex's claw, its amber eyes boring into her like twin suns. The air was heavy, thick with the stench of ozone and alien metal, her chip tooth bared in a defiant grimace. The overseer's voice rasped, a jagged hum of fury. "Your chaos ends here, primate." Its claw tightened, pressing her ribs until they creaked. But Mara's smirk didn't falter. She'd faced worse odds in dive bars. Behind her, the corridor erupted in chaos. Diego Morales scrambled to his feet, toolkit clattering as he dodged at drones. Slash and claw, his lanky frame ducking behind a toppled soldier sergeant. Biff, who was busy wrestling another drone with a slapstick flurry of kicks and "Gotcha, buzzboy," Biff crowed, accidentally elbowing himself in the face. Aisha Khalid fired her pistol one-handed, her other arm rigging a detonator, her boots still smoldering from Diego's turret misfire. "Buck, hang on," she yelled, hurling the explosive at Klyrr-Vex's flank. The blast rocked the overseer, crystal shards spraying like deadly hail, and its grip faltered just enough for Mara to twist free, rolling to the floor with a "Keep hitting it," Mara barked, snatching her broken blade and slashing it. Sparks flew, but the carapace held until Biff and his squad piled on, a bumbling mob of bio-augmented absurdity. One soldier somersaulted into Klyrr-Vex's chest. Another tripped and headbutted its knee, cackling, "Oops, my bad." The overseer roared, swatting them aside like flies. But the distraction bought Mara time to regroup. Diego's scanner shrieked, its screen flashing red. Station's tearing itself apart, more pods waking up. "We've got minutes, tops. Then we take the bug with us," Aisha growled, priming another charge. Before she could throw it, the Driftspire's ceiling pulsed a blinding flash of light warping the air. Space itself tore open, and a Concord where fleet materialized beyond the station's fractured viewport, sleek, angular ships bristling with cannons, their hulls gleaming like obsidian knives. A transmission crackled through the comms, sharp and human. "This is Captain Lena Voss of the Reaper's Dawn. You woke the party. Buckley, let's crash it." Mara froze, catching her breath. "Voss, the hell are you doing here?" Tracking the Eden's wrath, Voss replied, her voice edged with a grin. "Concord locked it away 'cause they feared you apes. Guess I'm rooting for the underdog now." Her ship a defector's prize bank. Hard, unleashing a volley that shattered a chunk of the Driftspire's outer hull. Debris spun into the void, and the station lurched, gravity flickering. Klyrr-Vex's eyes flared. "Traitor!" it bellowed, charging Mara again, but the soldiers swarmed anew fully. Awake now, their glitch protocols turning chaos into carnage. Biff led the charge, pirouetting into a drone with a war cry for nap time, while another soldier dropkicked Klyrr-Vex's arm, snapping a joint. Mara seized the opening, diving for Aisha's drop pistol and firing point blank at the overseer's chest. The shot scorched its core, but it held, staggering back with a hiss. Outside, Voss's fleet clashed with the Concord remnant plasma fire, lancing through the dark, human ships weaving like hornets against lumbering alien. The Reaper's Dawn dove, its railguns carving through a Concord frigate, splitting it in two with a silent bloom of flame. Inside, the Eden's wrath shuddered, its engines glowing hot as more soldiers spilled out dozens now, turning the corridor into a zero-G brawl. Gravity failed entirely, and Mara kicked off a wall, floating toward Klyrr-Vex. "Diego, cover me," she shouted. Diego nodded, rigging a drone's claw into a makeshift launcher loaded with another cheese packet. "Second course, incoming," he yelled, firing. The foil splattered Klyrr-Vex's core again, sparking wildly, and its limbs jittered, giving Mara her shot. She slammed into it midair, driving her blade into the weakened chest plate. Metal buckled, circuits screamed, and the overseer thrashed, hurling her back. Aisha floated up, detonator in hand. Time to end this, she hurled her last explosive, aiming for a crystalline strut above Klyrr-Vex. The blast detonated, collapsing the corridor's roof in a storm of razor-sharp. Mara grabbed Diego, pulling him behind the bulkhead as the shards pinned Klyrr-Vex. Its amber eyes dimmed, voice fading to a glitchy whisper. "You cannot stop." Mara fired one last shot through its core, silencing it. "Watch me," she muttered, panting as the dust settled. The soldiers floated around her, saluting with goofy spins, one shouting, "Victory dance," before crashing into a wall. Voss's voice cut through the comms. "Nice work, Buckley. Concord's scattering, but your ride's toast. Need a lift." Mara glanced at the Rustbucket's wreckage, then the Eden's wrath, its engine faltering under the strain. "Yeah," she said, wiping blood from her lip. "But we're bringing company." Diego smirked, kicking a drone husk. "Worst road trip ever." Aisha tallied her blasts on her fingers, grinning. 7. Not bad. The Driftspire trembled, its core fracturing as Voss's fleet held the line. The soldiers still bumbling, still deadly formed up around Mara, their loyalty. She straightened, staring at the viewport where Concord's ships retreated into the. Humanity had woken up, and the galaxy wouldn't sleep easy again. The Driftspire hung in the void like a broken chandelier, its crystalline spires cracked and dark, drifting in silent testament to the chaos that had torn. Inside, the air was still, heavy with the tang of scorched metal and the faint, absurd whiff of alien cheese. Mara Buckley leaned against a shattered bulkhead, her chip tooth catching the dim glow of the Eden's wrath's flickering engines. Her jacket was torn, shoulder bruised purple where Klyrr-Vex had pinned her. But her hazel eyes burned steady, exhausted, yes, but unbroken. Around her, the corridor lay littered with drone husks and crystal shards. A battlefield turned graveyard. Diego Morales slumped nearby, His lanky frame sprawled across a toppled console. Toolkit opened beside him like a spilled drink. Grease streaked his face, and his hands trembled slightly as he patched a wire into the Eden's Wrath's auxiliary power grid. "Worst road trip ever," he muttered, voice hoarse but laced with a smirk. A spark popped from the console, and he yelped, shaking his hand. "Ow. This ship's older than my abuela and twice as cranky." I should call it paced a few feet away, her compact frame coiled with restless energy despite the limp from her singed boot. She tallied her blast count on her fingers, grinning like a kid who'd wanna. 7. 7 booms. Could have been 8 if Sparks hadn't shot me. She shot Diego a mock glare, but the twitch of her lips betrayed her pride. Her demolitions pack hung empty at her side, a soldier's badge of honor. Beyond the fractured viewport, Captain Lena Voss's fleet held position a loose formation of human ships, their hulls scarred but defiant against the black. The Reaper's Dawn loomed largest, its sleek lines cutting a shadow over the retreating Concord remnant. The Rustbucket was a twisted wreck, its hull fused to the Driftspire's floor. But the Eden's Wrath battered, ancient hummed with life. Its cryopods had gone dark, their occupants now awake, dozens of bio-augmented super soldiers milling about in the zero-G aftermath with goofy salutes and clumsy victory dances. Sergeant Biff floated past Mara, spinning like a top, shouting, "We whooped them." "Good, ma'am," before crashing into a wall with a cheerful thud. Mara snorted, pushing off the bulkhead. "Clowns with muscles," she muttered, but her tone softened. They'd saved her crew, glitches and all. She keyed her comms, static crackling before Voss's voice cut through, sharp and "Buckley, station stable for now. Concord's running scared, but your ship's toast. Need a lift." Mara glanced at the Eden's Wrath, its engine sputtering as Diego coaxed them. "Yeah," she said, wiping blood from her lip with a sleeve. "But we've got baggage. 10,000 of M, give or take." She nodded toward the soldiers, one of whom was attempting a backflip and failing spectacularly. Voss chuckled, a rare sound from the defector. "Heard that. Docking clamps are ready. Bring your circus aboard, I've got room." The Reaper's Dawn's bay doors yawned open, a lifeline in the void. Mara turned to her crew. "Sparks, get that ship moving. Boom. Round up the clowns. We're not leaving anyone behind." Diego grumbled but hauled himself up, splicing the last wire. The Eden's Wrath jolted, engines flaring a weak but steady blue. "She'll limp, but she'll make it," he said, wiping his brow. Aisha cracked her knuckles, floating toward the soldiers with a bark. "All right, you lunatics form up, or I blow something else up." Biff saluted with a twirl, rallying his squad into a wobbly line, their loyalty unshaken despite the. As the ship shuddered toward the docking bay, Voss's voice returned, quieter. "You know why the Concord locked this thing away, Buckley? They feared you humans. Too unpredictable, too stubborn. Thought they'd bury you out here and call it balance." Mara's jaw tightened, staring at the stars beyond the viewport. "Guess they forgot we don't stay buried." "Damn right," Voss said. "And now they'll fear you more." That fight broadcast why Driftspire's course sent a final ping before it fried. "The sleepers are awake, every system from here to Seoul heard it." Diego perked up, smirking. "Think they'll name a star after us?" "Only if it explodes," Mara deadpan, but her eyes glinted with something. The Eden's Wrath docked with a metallic clang, clamps locking it to the Reapers. The soldiers floated aboard, still bumbling. One hugged the bulkhead, muttering, "Pretty ship," while Mara led her crew onto Voss's deck. The air was cooler here, recycled but clean, a stark contrast to the. Voss met them at the hatch, a lean woman with cropped hair and a defect patch on her jacket. Her gaze flicked over Mara's bruises, Diego's grease, Aisha's limp then. "You're a mess," she said, almost fond. "But you did it? Woke the galaxy up." Mara shrugged, wincing as her shoulder twinged. "Had to. Someone's got to remind these bastards we're here." Aisha grinned, leaning on a crate. And we blow shit up real good. Voss nodded, turning to her crew. Set course for Earth. Full burn. The Reapers dawn home, engines flaring as it pivoted. The Driftspire shrinking behind them, a relic humanity had cracked open and left. Ringing with defiance. Mara stepped to the bridge's viewport, watching the stars stretch into streaks. The soldiers settled in, Biff leading an off-key chant of homeward, ho, that. Diego reluctantly joined, mumbling, worst jingle ever. Guess we're the alarm clock now, Mara said, half to herself, her voice steady. Despite the ache in her bones. Voss glanced over, a rare smirk tugging her lips. Time to wake the galaxy, then. They won't like it. Good, Mara replied, her grin sharp as the void. The ship surged forward, battered but unbroken, carrying a crew and a species that refused to sleep again. The stars burned brighter ahead, and for the first time in a long while, the emptiness felt a little less vast.